Hey, welcome to the podcast. It's your host, Brandy Taylor. We have an awesome guest today, Shayna Simone. Welcome, Shayna.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Thanks so much for being on, Shayna. Now, Shayna, you're no a stranger to the podcast. You've been on the podcast before. But before we get into our topic today, tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got into this industry.
I am currently a certified trichologist, certified hair loss expert is what I like to call myself. And I started out, of course, like a lot of women in the beauty industry. I was a cosmetologist first. I went to Aveda and I graduated in 2003 and decided to transition to trichology and hair loss because I definitely felt I was needed, especially here in the state of Michigan.
Yes, awesome. So trichology is it for you. I know that's like your direction now in hair loss, but tell us, how did you end up deciding to go into trichology?
So initially, my decision was in hair school. I learned a small little snippet about trichology, but I kind of got lost in the sauce because when you graduate from hair school, you really just want to get experience. You want to get clients, you're trying to make money at that point. But of course, hair restoration was always my number one passion. So I could do the trendy styles. I can do the fun styles you ask me to do. But if I feel like it's going to compromise your hair, I will tell you no. If I feel like your hair can't handle it, or if I feel like at a later time you can handle it, I ask you to allow me to restore it first and then get you there. So I always was into healthy hair care. I was always researching the products I was using on my clients. I always wanted the best of the best products for them to make sure they would have healthy hair. So my love for it. However, and going on down the line, I realized I was getting more and more women in my chair that had more severe issues, and they were young. We think hair loss equates to you being elderly or older, and you start losing your hair. But no, these were women, some in their 20s, 30s, and early 40s, losing their hair severely to a point it was beyond what I could help them with as far as being a cosmetologist. And so I was having women ask, how can I help them? And I really didn't have the answers beyond what I knew as far as cosmetology school. So I started telling them, okay, I'm going to research and revisit this whole hair loss trichology thing. And so that was my initial goal, was to do that. It still took me a couple years to get there, though. The training was a lot, but being a busy hairstylist, trying to get through it all and learn all this information, it is self-paced. It took me a while to get there, but it really hit me, I think, during COVID. I was already kind of doing the training, but I really was like, okay, you're going for this gun blazing once COVID is over. You're not playing any games. Once you get your new space open, you have to become this expert. You can no longer be the hidden gem. You can no longer be a hidden secret of how you're helping these women. You got to get the word out. So it was more so my own journey of what I went through COVID. It's a long story. I don't know if you want me to go that deep into it yet, but it was life-changing for me during COVID to really start pursuing my purpose. I found my passion, which is hair, but I also wanted a purpose, and the purpose was to help, especially my Black African-American women on their healthy hair journey.
Well, I feel you do have a story that you don't have to tell it all, but you've been through a lot. I know right when everything happened with COVID, you found some other news out, right?
Right.
And I know you experienced hair loss yourself. So can you share a little bit of what that was like?
Yeah. So in March of 2020, when the governor shut us down, I actually had a mammogram that same day of the shutdown. And I had a mammogram scheduled because I found a lump on my right breast that was in January. I found it. So, but my mammogram was not scheduled, unfortunately, until March. And it so happened to be on the same day of the shutdown. Who knew that was even coming? It hit us so rampant. And I found out 2 days later that I had stage 2 breast cancer. So it was a shocker because not only am I fighting for my business to survive, I'm now fighting for my life. So as an entrepreneur, and if anyone out here can sympathize with what an entrepreneur goes through, on top of finding out major news on top of a whole pandemic and you're shut down and can't make any money. Yeah, it was some trying times. And of course, through chemo, radiation, and surgery, and all the things that I had to go through, I did lose all my hair. I lost my eyebrows. I lost my eyelashes. I didn't even know you lose pretty much every single hair follicle that's on your body. I lost it all. And so during that moment, I was able to really, really sympathize even more with my clients who have been battling hair loss on a regular, and the clients that were in my chair on a regular. Of course, I could never really put myself in their shoes before, but I did sympathize with them. But this was on a whole nother level, me truly, truly feeling that my identity was stripped away. So that was tough for me for a long time. Of course, I am a hairstylist, so I can mask it, but I still had, when I come home, I want to be comfortable. And I had to expose all of that to my children. I have 3 children. So that was hard for them to see their mom like that. So I can only imagine, a woman who has more permanent issues or issues that's been going on longer than mine. Mine lasted a year, but there are some women who've been dealing with it 9, 10 years, even longer. So it really made me walk the walk with them and really say, you know what, Shayna, these women need you more than your client that just needs you to do her hair for her birthday. So you got to pull back. And I had to rescale when I came back. I had to cut down my services that I was offering so I can open up more space for hair loss clients. And then I also had to stop taking new clients. The only new clients I took was clients who were experiencing hair loss. So that was hard for me to do. That transition was not easy because I built a bond with my clients. I love my clients. They love me. But I felt like they did not necessarily need me like they felt they needed me. They can go anywhere, or they can go to my other stylists in my salon that I've trained to get their hair curled or flat ironed or whatever the case may be. But these women dealing with hair loss, what I do and me being a certified trichologist, it didn't exist in Michigan. So I had to be that for them.
Yes. And it's interesting how you went through your experience and ultimately you were already doing the trichology thing and everything. But I think, if correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that was like a pusher for you, like to really like, okay, this is it. Like, this is it. This is what I should be focusing on. This is what I should be helping people with.
Yeah, I was going through the training and studying. It took me 2 years to do that. And so with COVID, it really pushed me to go stronger and go ahead and finish it up because it is self-paced. And when you're busy and all of that, you would push it to the side. You study, but you push it to the side. I was like, absolutely not. We have to hurry up and get this done. I have to go full force with this. I felt God calling me to do more. And that journey really pushed me to say, hey, Shayna, you got to stop playing. It's time to take it to the next level.
So why hair loss, Shayna? Like, why do you think, like, we all have something
Yeah.
that was on us. It's not like, for some reason, for me, it's the beauty industry. For you, it's, hair. Like, but why do you think that is?
Why do I think hair loss is happening?
Well, why do you think hair loss, why do you think that's part of your purpose, is helping women with hair loss?
Part of my purpose. You know what? Honestly, I've always been intrigued with Black hair. And I know it sounds so weird, but when I got into cosmetology school, I was always told that Black hair could not grow past a certain length. And I really wanted to kill that myth, right? I wanted to say, hey, our hair can grow, but we weren't educated properly. And then the products that are out there for us, they don't even research their products on our hair texture or our scalp. So I had to figure out what products, what tools, what things work best for our hair, right? And it was just a passion of mine to really kill the myth that our hair can't grow, or our hair always stays at a certain point, or we think our hair doesn't grow. But scientifically, your hair grows 1/4 of an inch every month. Scientifically, that happens. But we're not seeing our length. Why? And so I'm one of those people, when I'm passionate about something, I want to know why this issue is happening, or I want to know why is this, I need more answers than just, oh, our hair don't grow, you know?
Right.
So it really was a challenge for me. I like challenges. I like to take on challenges, and I like to shut down a lot of false narratives that are out there. And so hair growth was my initial passion, you know? And then I think for the hair loss, once I actually were getting these women in my chair and seeing how it really emotionally put a damper on them. You know, when COVID happened and we were shut down, people were making jokes about, oh, what y'all gonna do now? The hair salon's closed, and now y'all gotta expose your real self, and your man gonna leave. You know, there's all these jokes going out, right? And I really felt horrible for my clients, because I do have some clients whose husbands have never seen their hair because they were losing it and they're embarrassed to show them. And that's not something that they were born that way. You know, they literally lost their hair due to whatever was going on with them. And it made me feel bad for those women. And I was really worried about those clients during COVID and shut down, because I could not help them during that time to mask what I had been masking for them for so long. So I think for me, it was more so just hearing the stories, hearing the women pleading, hearing the women frustrated with going to the dermatologist, hearing them frustrated with the products they were trying and wasn't working, hearing them frustrated with the oils that wasn't working, hearing them upset. And I'm just one of those people. I'm more so like, I'm always an advocate. I'm always like, I want to fight for other people. And I was like, no, I'm the person, if this keeps coming to me, I'm the person that needs to make this happen.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's you are part of the solution.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes, the reason why something we're so passionate about it, and it
Mhm.
keeps coming back up for us. We're supposed to really, tackle that thing. It's a part of our purpose.
Right.
It's something that we should be doing. And
Yeah.
I truly believe you found that with the hair loss. Now,
Yeah.
you talked about like how we thought, one of the myths was that, our hair couldn't grow. And I
Yeah.
remember thinking like most Black people,
Mhm.
hair couldn't grow past a certain length. I
Right.
always kind of thought that. And there's a lot of myths that I see
Mhm.
that you kind of talk about on your social media. So I want
Yeah.
to talk about some of those things. Like I'll go one
Yeah.
that you said more recently, that shampoo
Yeah.
is for the scalp and not
Right.
for hair. And I was like, what? What did you talk about? So tell me some of the myths that you want to
So, shampoos for the scalp, because you need to cleanse the scalp, right? The scalp is no different than the skin on your face, right? Your hair, once you rinse your hair out and the shampoo like runs down it, it's going to get clean from that. But you actually taking that shampoo and like scrubbing it through your actual ends of your hair and all of that, that is hair that has already been established, is already in the resting phase, and now you're stripping it, okay? You need to actually clean the scalp, because number one, the hair and the root reside in the scalp. So it's no different than a tree, right? We have to water the grass. We have to nourish the root, right? They're not up spraying the leaves, are they? They're nourishing deep down in the root with the water, with the sprinkler system, whatever it may be. Same thing has to happen with your hair in order for it to grow. It needs a clean foundation. We have to get rid of that grit. We have to unclog those follicles. We have to clean out the whatever debris got inside of there. And so, and I think we don't think of it that way. We think of just the strands of our hair, but we never ever think about the scalp. The hair resides in the scalp. The scalp is the most important part of making sure your hair is healthy, for sure.
Mm-hmm. And how often should we be washing our hair? And I asked you this question because as a Black woman, like I always thought we didn't have to wash our
Mhm.
hair too
Yes.
often. Like you can wash it, twice a month, every other week, and that was good enough for us because of all the things it takes with our hair. It's like
Right.
I thought over washing it would dry our hair out. And
Mhm.
actually it did because of the
Mhm.
products we were using. You gotta
Mhm.
think like when I was growing up, my mom was buying like, stuff from the drugstore that was
Mhm.
not for us,
Yep.
that had all these things that was drying my hair out.
Yeah.
So I thought that's why, okay, our hair is dry. We don't need to
Mhm.
wash it as much. So twice a month is good enough.
Yeah.
But how often, expert, should we wash our hair?
So it's not a one and done for everyone. It really depends on the type of scalp you have, okay? But definitely you need to wash it once a week. Most definitely. Some people who put a lot of oils in their hair, a lot of product, especially my natural girls that cake stuff on their hair, they need to probably wash it about every 3 days. And the reason why we don't wash our hair as often is because it's a lot of work to get our hair back to whatever suitable style we want, right? When we wet our hair, it swells up, it frizzes, it curls. So water sometimes is not the best for our hair style. However, if we're looking at the hair health, we need to clean our scalp at least once a week. It's very important to let all those oils, let all that dirt and let all that grit, it just clogs the hair follicle, which can cause more hair loss down the line. So just think of, your face. Think about not washing your face for 3 months or 3 weeks or 2, what will happen to your face? It's no different. It's the same skin. Another reason why we, like you mentioned, we didn't wash our hair as often because, quote unquote, it would dry it out. Some of it is improper products. Some of it is improper way of shampooing. Are you shampooing, once again, the hair and not the scalp? And then when you shampoo, what are you replenishing it, the moisture back with? What conditioner are you using? What other treatments are you using to make sure your hair doesn't get dry on the ends? So it's a combination of things of why we thought we could not or we should not wash our hair as often. But I always say, look at, for example, Asian women, Caucasian women. We always say their hair grows, But ask them how many times they wash their hair.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
some wash it every day. Some wash it every couple days.
And so the reason why they wash every day, some of them, is because they have extremely oil scalp. But it doesn't just apply to Caucasian women. Some Black women have oily scalp. They build natural oils. So you have to know your scalp, your condition. That's why I always like to do scalp analysis to really assess, to give you what you should be doing, right? It doesn't apply to everyone. Some clients that have seborrheic dermatitis, they have to wash probably more than once a week because they're building up an extra yeast. And there's some other things they need to do as well, but they have to wash their hair more times than the average person because they're building this own. People think that dermatitis means your scalp is dry, but actually it's oily. It's building a lot of excessive oil. So it's a combination of reasons of why we thought. That's why I like to kill some of the myths of why we thought we should wait or, and wash our hair every 2 weeks or don't wash it too much. Or you shouldn't be styling your hair every week. It's going to fall out. That no, we need a clean scalp. It's very important. So I say at least once a week.
Yeah, it's interesting because just even watching like the type of stuff that you put out, it's like, what? Really? Because I think there's so many myths that it really, actually, I understand that we still are not properly educated about our hair. We still don't know.
Right.
and even the professionals, nothing against them because it's just a lack of knowledge.
It's what they're taught. Yeah. And honestly, no one knows what to do with our hair sometimes because, once again, we don't research our hair. Our hair dermatologists, when they go to school, they don't learn Black hair and Black scalp. And then some cosmetology schools, they teach you textbook versions of Black hair, but who actually did the research? What are the backings behind this, right? How are we really, really coming up with why you feel I need this in my hair versus this, So, I always tell people our hair, what people say about our hair is that our hair is so strong and it can handle anything and we can do whatever we want to our hair. That's not actually true. Our individual strands, and I'm speaking of each individual strand, is very, very thin and fine. And what I mean by that is the thickness of that individual strand. We just have more strands on our head. So it gives us, and we have curly hair. So it gives us the volume, it gives us the texture, right? We can't be putting all these chemicals on those small strands because guess what? It will break, it will snap. Versus an Asian woman or a white woman, their individual strands are actually thicker. They just have less. So it makes their hair appear that it's thinner than ours, but the individual strand is not necessarily thinner. They just have less strands on their head, which makes it thinner. Does that make sense? So they can leave bleach on their hair for 2 hours. I've seen even longer sometimes. Okay. And because their strand is so thick, all it does is just make the strand smaller and smaller and smaller, but it doesn't completely break it. If the strand is already a pinch of hair and you put that bleach on there, leave it on there for 2 hours, it's gone. So that's where we got to kill that part of our hair can handle anything. And this is why we're doing all these destructive things to our hair, like tight braids, tight installs, bleach, relaxers. We think we can handle all of that, and sometimes we can't. And then sometimes those chemical reactions affect our scalp. So it's causing our scalp to get trauma to it, which is one of the things is called CCCA. A lot of clients that I have coming in, I can tell they wear a lot of relaxers, left the relaxer on too tight, left the color on for too long. We're wearing excessive amount of braids, tight weaves, tight quick weaves, where their scalp actually created a defense mechanism of a thick piece of scalp on top of their hair follicle, which makes their hair no longer grow, because the body's trying to fight against all this trauma you're putting to it, because we think our hair can handle it, but really it can't. So that's the one myth I love to kill, is that our hair is not as strong as we think. Yes, we are strong women. Yes, we have beautiful locks, not diminishing that. But when we get down to the individual strand of our hair, it cannot handle all that trauma that we're putting on it.
Mm-hmm. And I think, do you think the strength goes back to because of sometimes our hair is very coarse?
Yeah.
And so people might think, it's some strong stuff because it's coarse and maybe
our curl patterns.
Yes, our curl patterns.
Yep. And a lot of times I like to also kill the myth of what's considered coarse and what's not, because some women are just walking around with unruly, stripped, split end hair. So it makes it like a bush at the bottom, where we think, oh, our hair can't handle, my hair won't stay straight, my hair won't handle this. But we're holding on to hair that, from one, got damaged some kind of way, improper use, improper tools, improper products, chemicals, and then we don't want to trim it. So I have saved a lot of women from thinking that their hair was so coarse and unruly by just, for one, using the right products, right tools, and giving them a great trim. So I know we're afraid to cut our hair, but a lot of times we're holding on to the part that is causing us the most stress. And that once your hair is unruly and unmanageable, is because it needs to be taken care of. It needs to be restored, for sure.
Mm-hmm. Now, I want you to share the difference between hair loss and hair damage.
So hair loss, I like to say hair loss and hair breakage. So hair breakage is when you have different lengths, right? Your hair in the root, though, is all the same thickness, okay? But on the ends, like mid to ends, you have breakage everywhere. You have different lengths everywhere. You have very wiry hair at the ends, okay? That means you have hair breakage, and it needs to be restored with the right products, right tools, or cut, okay? Hair loss is when you start to see scalp. You start to see areas of baldness. You have spots. When you put your hair in a ponytail, you see skin, right? Or overall, you knew your hair used to be a lot thicker, and now when you put it in a ponytail, that ponytail is not as full as it used to be. Or when you were wearing whatever style you used to wear, if you're wearing a flat iron, it used to be a lot fuller. It's no longer as full. You are experiencing hair loss. So that's when it's coming out from the strand here. Hair breakage is when it's breaking off midway somewhere, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Now, what are the causes of hair loss? Some of the causes.
So some of the causes are lack of nutrients. Some of them are underlying health issues. Some of them is stress. A lot of it is stress. Let's get there. A lot of it is trauma, emotional stress. I've had clients who recently had a death in the family, and they come to me and they're like, my hair is coming out in globs. And I asked them, what happened 3 months ago? Oh, my father was rushed to the hospital. He had emergency surgery. I was so stressed. It was just a lot going on. Trigger. So 3 months later, the hair growth cycle operates on the 3-month cycle. So whatever happened to you, 3 months later, you start seeing your hair fall out. Same thing with pregnancy. Most women that have babies, they start seeing hair loss after. It normally happens about 3 months after they had the baby. So it could have been trauma. It could have been lack of nutrients because the baby took all the nutrients probably once they came out. So it's always something. It's even been down to someone got in a car accident 3 months ago. Just the trauma from that. Emotional trauma can cause you to stress, and your hair will start to shed drastically where you're experiencing hair loss. So it's a combination of things. It could be overactive or underactive thyroid. It could be something as simple as you just need some vitamin D. You know, you have you're anemic. So it's a combination of issues. The most common that I see is called androgenetic hair loss. And a lot of people think that, oh, androgenetic, I hear the word genetic, is genetics, right? So that means that my mother and my father had hair loss, so that means I'm doomed. Genetically, it's going to happen. It runs in my family. And that's not necessarily the case. Androgenetic alopecia is also known as female pattern hair loss or male pattern hair loss. And it's normally in the crown area, starts to thin out. And that means that person has high levels of testosterone, where it's converting into what we call DHT. And we have to find a way to block that DHT. And we also have to address whatever deficiencies you may have going on internally. Okay. So it's attacking the top of your hair. When people hear the word genetic, they think, oh, doomed. Well, not necessarily, because I feel it's just a generational curse. Okay, so let's think about it. My mom, the way did I freeze? Hold on, I'm sorry. I lost you. Okay, there you go. Sorry, my screen just clicked off. So let's talk about androgenetic and why genetics, I feel, is more so a generational curse. So what I mean by that is what my mom eats, that's what she fed me. How my mom cooks is how she taught me how to cook. And who taught her? My grandma. Who taught my grandma? Probably my great grandma, my grandfather, right? So we all kind of eat the same. We all kind of do the same things. Therefore, our reaction to things are going to be very similar, right? Mm-hmm. I also use the analogy of when I grew up, in the area I grew up in, I didn't see people walking and jogging and things like that. I didn't see that. Well, a lot of people do that because it relieves stress. It relieves tension. It keeps the body moving. It takes stress off the body by exercising, right? I didn't see that. So when I moved to the suburbs, I'm like, why are all these people out here walking? It didn't make sense to me. So that's also a generational curse, because my upbringing, I never saw that, right? So which makes me not want to get out there and walk, so I had to break that curse. I have to start going out there walking. I have to start cooking differently. I have to start eating differently. I have to start addressing my overall health. So I always say genetics is not necessarily meaning you're doomed. It's a curse that you can't break.
Mm-hmm. Now, what are some ways that you help your clients? Because I know, you help them with their hair loss and all of those things. So tell us how that works.
So how I help my clients first is we do a consultation. So I first want to help them identify what the problem is. I don't like to put a Band-Aid on the situation, because we have to figure out what's causing the situation, right? So I'm not a big fan of doing injections in the head and things like that, because that's really just putting a Band-Aid over the major problem. So I got to address internally what's going on with you. Externally, I take pictures of their hair follicle. I'm looking at their growth pattern. I'm looking at the areas of loss. I'm looking for clogged hair follicles. I'm looking to see if their follicles are still active. There's certain things that I'm looking for in my microscope of their scalp. Once I address that, now I need to look at their underlying health issue to basically be able to compare my notes to tell them what type of hair loss they're dealing with, because there are several different types. There's not just one thing called alopecia. There's several different forms of alopecia, right? So once I address their health issue, whether they have a thyroid issue, whether they're deficient in their B vitamins or zinc or potassium, I'm looking for all of that. I have a device that tells me the information up front, but if all my clients that sign up with me, I actually get actual blood work. And I have a software where I input their information in there, and it breaks everything down to me what their blood results are coming back as far as if they're toxic, if they have a lot of inflammation, if they have intestinal parasites. That's one. The parasites eat away at your hair. So whatever, if they need blood sugar regulation, The hair is fed from the blood. We got to get your blood regulated. So once I see what the major issue is, then I address that. So I offer supplements. I have them come into my clinic. I do techniques in clinic. They're all holistic, where I'm bringing blood flow to the area. I'm detoxing the scalp, and I'm reducing inflammation. I'm doing it over and over. Detoxing the scalp, reducing inflammation. And then that's the main thing that I do. And you'll be surprised, clients are getting results in weeks. I'm talking clients who've had hair loss for over 10 years. And now we have new hairs in areas that had not been there in over 10 years, all by feeding the blood and bringing the blood to where it needs to go to.
Wow, awesome.
Yeah.
So what's your overall mission?
My overall mission is to change the way we think about our hair. My overall mission is to really educate, especially Black women, on the fact that hair loss has nothing to do with your hair at all. It's all internal. So how can I help you internally? Yes, I'm going to do some external things, but we got to address this internal issue, because me doing all this external stuff is not going to work if you don't do what you need to do internally, right? And so I really, really want to educate people on why hair loss is really happening, why hair loss happens, especially in the Black community, because it's different for us, what's causing it. And I feel like once we know, we do better. So if I can get everybody educated, because we've gone too long without knowing. So when we don't know, we just don't know. But now if I can get them to know and make some change, that is my true mission, to really, really educate and give real answers, especially to the Black community.
Now, Shayna, where do we start? Because we know that, we haven't been properly educated.
Right.
And probably, we haven't been eating right and exercising right. And Black people in general, but we deal with a lot of stress, like a lot of stress. Like even, you talk about COVID, it hit, the Black community really, really hard in comparison to other communities.
Right.
So we deal with a lot of stress, and we deal with a lot of things that can affect our hair.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what are some things that we can do now? Like, is there anything that we can start to do now to make some changes?
As far as making the awareness?
Well, just, tackling the whole issues with our hair loss and being more aware of all of these things, for sure. Yes.
I really say be an advocate for yourself in the doctor office. That is one of my main things, mainly because we don't know how to be advocates. We think the doctor in front of us has went to school, has all the education, and he's supposed to just give us the answer, right? So we have to start taking more control of our individual health. Okay. So when we're going to the doctor and he's doing our lab work and he's going over everything, we need to ask more questions. Well, doctor, instead of me getting on medication, is there some other alternatives? Or, doctor, you said I'm pre-diabetic. I don't want to get on medication. What are some other alternatives? What other resources are out there for me? Just being more of an advocate for ourselves, I think, is number one. Realizing that we can ask questions. It's not a situation where we're just being told what to do. So it's not one of those situations where we're just being told what to do. We can also say, hey, what are some other alternatives? Hey, I saw my numbers are not coming up. My numbers have been the same. You told me if I eat healthier, these things will happen. Well, I've been eating healthy and they're not happening. What's some other options? So I feel like just being an advocate for ourselves is a really good start, for sure, and being more aware. So mainly, I just recommend us being an advocate for ourselves in the doctor's office, making sure we're asking the doctor, hey, doctor, you mentioned I'm pre-diabetic. These things are happening to me, right? Believe it or not, being pre-diabetic affects your hair. So I feel like if I say, doctor, I'm eating healthier, but things still aren't changing, what else can I do, right? Doctors, of course, they are looking for more severe issues. They fix disease, right? They fix chronic illnesses. They have to do surgeries and things like that for major things, right? As far as preventative care, not all doctors treat that as an emergency, right? So for you, it may be urgent, but for them, they have bigger fish to fry. So what can I do to get out there, do more research, and be more conscious of my body? Me just fixing something as simple as making sure my vitamin D is good, making sure my iron is good, making sure I'm using the bathroom regularly and I don't have toxic waste going through my bloodstream. Something as simple as that is somewhere where I feel like we can change. And for me, I love to lure my clients in because they're coming to me for hair, right? And with Black women, hair is very important. If the doctor told them, ma'am, I need you to eat better, I need you to exercise because your numbers are this, they may or may not listen to him. But they come to me and say, hey, my hair is coming out and my hair is very important to me. And I say the same thing that doctor just told them, they may listen a little more, So we still need the doctors and I still need to work with the doctors, but just addressing and being more of an advocate. If doctors feel like you care about your healthcare, they're going to care more about you. So if they feel like I've already told you, I've already sung the songs to you and you're still not doing it, they're going to put you down as not compliant. But if you come into them and say, hey, I really want to be an advocate for my healthcare. I met with my hair loss specialist. She's telling me I need to address these things. What is your opinion on that? What do you think? Just really being an advocate in the doctor office, I think is one way we can start for sure.
Sure. And I guess trying to reduce stress, right?
Yes. Learning how to reduce stress. I feel like we don't really know how to cope with our stress because we've been so used to, especially Black women, we've been so used to being everything for everyone that we've psyched ourselves into thinking that, oh, well, this is how things are. I can handle it. But your body can't handle it. Your body is going through physical stress, right? And when your body goes through physical stress, everything tends to lock up. You're not using the bathroom properly like you need to. Your nutrients aren't absorbing the way they need to absorb because you are stressed. Your body is just basically tightened up on you, okay? Mentally, you've psyched your mind to think that you can handle it. But what can we do to cope with the stress? What self-care techniques can we have? What things can we do for ourselves where we feel good? Exercise techniques, meditation, like that. Learning how to cope with every stress. Realize we don't have to be superwomen. A lot of women that I'm running into with hair loss issues are dealing with major emotional trauma and major stress. But no one has ever really taught us how to deal with that. And the world looks at us as so strong, we don't get sympathy like others do, right? So they looking at us like, what you complaining for? Are you strong? You should be able to handle it, And right. And that's not necessarily always the truth. Yes, I'm a Black woman. I love being a Black woman. Yes, I am strong, but I am also, a person and I am also human and I also have the same feelings that everyone else has, So I think just really coping with stress and learning how to cope with it would definitely help a lot of us for sure.
Yeah, I could definitely see that. And, stress, leads to so many things. I
Mhm.
mean, so many things, health wise. And so learning how to deal with it and manage it. I know many of us need to learn that. So
Yeah.
I can see just learning that could probably eliminate some of your issues, right?
Right, right.
For sure, for sure.
Mhm.
Well, Shay, I think this is phenomenal what you're teaching. I can honestly say I don't hear too many people talking about this on this level.
Right.
Like, people want to put a band-aid on it usually. It's like, oh, okay, okay, weaves are great. I love weaves. We all love
Mhm.
weaves and we
We all
all
do.
do those things, right?
Mhm.
Nothing against them.
I
Please don't
love
take that away, right? Don't
it.
take that from us. But we need to also learn how to grow our hair, how to properly care
Mhm.
for our hair. And it starts from the inside out. And I know that you're really tackling that with what you're
Mhm.
doing with trichology. And I
Yes.
wanted you to share that because I know there's a lot of myths, especially with us. We still
Yeah.
don't know. Like we
Yeah.
still learning
Yeah.
how to really, take care of our hair. And it starts with people like you just really, educating us on just how to properly do little things. Like just even I just want to tap on this. You talked about washing your tools, cleaning your tools. I'm
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
how often should we do it? You like every use. I'm like, ooh, let me start
And
doing
that's
it.
very important. And that's something else I talk to my clients about too, because what I'm doing is I'm bringing blood flow to that hair follicle. I'm opening up and I'm unclogging this hair follicle, right? I need that area to be as clean as possible. So you have to use clean tools, even clean scarves, even clean bonnets. So you should have a new bonnet every single night that you go to sleep. And you need to wash your bonnets like you wash your clothes. So we need clean, clean, clean things, especially when I'm working with my clients with hair loss, because I'm opening it up and I cannot let any dirt, grit, anything get up in there to cause any type of infections or anything like that. I need it to be as clean as possible. Clean brush, clean tools. It needs to be washed. Just like, think about it, as makeup artists, you have to, I'm pretty sure, clean your tools every use, right?
Yes.
Do you clean? Yeah. So it's no different than with your tools. You need to clean it every use.
Wow. Wow. Like, wait a minute. Now she done said the bonnet, Shayna. Come
Yes,
on.
the
The
bonnet.
bonnet. I need
You
7
need
bonnets.
7 bonnets, and you need to wash them like you wash your clothes.
I do wash them, but I didn't know I needed to
I
change.
knew you need to clean one every night. Realize how much when you sleep and you sweat and all that oil that gets in a bonnet. So guess what? It also kind of messes up your hairstyle, because when you're wrapping it up in an oil soaked scarf. So you need a clean scarf every single time.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, you get wow. So Shayna, oh my. So I know there's so many different myths like that. Just to some of the things we talked about how often you wash your hair, about cleaning the tools, about what shampoo is for, and all those things. There's so many myths that we thought like with our hair.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure there's some we haven't even touched on, but it's just really an eye opener for me. And I know people that are listening are like, "Are you serious?"
Yeah.
But it's eye opening, and it's saddening a little bit, because it's like by now it would seem like there was more education. But I'm just happy that you are educating us on this now, and I love the fact that you really want to teach and train Black women on how to just properly take care of their hair, and understanding like you've been lied to all your life. We all have. But we can start making changes today.
Yes, for sure. For sure. We think that we need, and a lot of you, I always tell people another thing too. When you go and buy shampoo and conditioner from these stores, the front of the bottle can say whatever it wants to say to loop you in. It's marketing. So it can say vegan, it can say organic, it can say natural oils, rosemary oil, hibiscus, all this stuff in it, right? Turn it around. Look at the ingredients. They to put what's in it on that area. That's where it's required. Read and see if you see anything organic, any natural herb, any hibiscus, any rosemary. If you don't see any of that, do not use that product, because it's a whole bunch of chemicals. They think our hair needs chemical for it to act right. And they have not tested that on not one black strand. Okay? We're not beta. They don't use us to do beta tests. Okay? So always, that's another thing. Be an advocate for yourself, even when you're shopping for your products. Turn the bottle around, look at the ingredients. No different when you're eating your food and you want to make sure it's, a healthy food and doesn't have too many sugars or whatever the case may be. Turn it around and look at that ingredient list. That's what's actually in the bottle.
Great tips. So Shayna, tell everybody how they can connect with you and get some more of these awesome gems you've been dropping.
So if you just need hair restoration, meaning you only have hair breakage, I have a hair restoration center in Berkeley on 12 Mile and Coolidge. It is called Amora Luxe. That is Amora Luxe. And you can reach me there at amoralux.com. If you are battling hair loss, hair thinning, areas of baldness, where you can see scalp, then you need to reach out to me at shaynasimone.com. That is my hair loss clinic. Okay. So I have a hair loss clinic, and then I also have a hair restoration center. So we address hair growth on both sides. So amoralux.com or shaynasimone.com.
Awesome. Shayna Simone, everybody, make sure you connect with her. Also, follow her at Shayna Simone on Instagram, where she does all those awesome tips.
And Facebook.
And Facebook. Yeah. Awesome. Well, thanks, Shayna. It was great having you.
Thank you.
That's all we have for you today. As always, stay great, and we're out. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.